And
Hello, everybody. Looks like we're live.
Oh, we're streaming.
Welcome to our event. We're so
hello.
excited that you're here. We're so excited. So Marge and I had this idea of doing a mini convention for you guys, and it started out like a brainchild of ours, and we just go in this chat and talk about all these things, and then we forget about it for like a week and come back and wonder, what are we doing? So this is how we do things. We do it scared. We do it sometimes when we're not even sure exactly what we're going to talk about, but we know that we love Plexus. We know we love our business. We know that this is the business of the century. So that's what we're excited to talk to you guys about. So if you're just starting out, you're going to get such good information on this Zoom today. And you are going to love the people that we have selected to train and give you stories and inspiration, and you'll be able to relate to them. We are so excited. So the goal of our event today is that we want you to start viewing your business as a legacy business, a long-term plan, not something you're doing short-term, something you're just going to try for a little bit, but something that's actually for your family long-term. And that you view it that way, and everything you decide in your business is viewed through that lens. So what you can expect is, oh my goodness, we have the best lineup. So Natalie, she is going to be sharing, and she's going to be sharing her story, how she got to Diamond. You guys, she just went Diamond not very long ago. Natalie is going to build your belief in the compensation plan and the company. She is the best at this if you ever watch her compensation plan video. And then Marge and I are going to just share kind of our stories and how we started in Canada and how we persevered. We're going to probably tell some crazy things that happen in Canada that you may never have heard before. Sarah and Rosanna are going to be teaching on leadership. So typically we imagine that somebody very like bold and not afraid of the spotlight and going forward with stuff, no problem. Those are our leaders. Well, today we have Rosanna and Sarah, who are like the most amazing servant leadership leaders. And you guys are going to realize you also can be a leader. They're going to blow the lie away that you think that you cannot lead. That is going to happen tonight. And then we have Brooke. She's going to be sharing about being authentically you, being who you are, and being able to succeed in whatever personality and whatever type you are. You're going to love her. And Alita is then going to share about the nitty-gritty stuff, how to be consistent and have discipline in your business. She's going to tell you exactly what to do. So that's our lineup, and we're so excited to get started. So first off, we have Natalie. As I said earlier, she just went Diamond. I was just sharing before we got on here, I feel like there needs to be like a statue of her somewhere in Canada because she's the pro. She is so good at what she does. When I started Plexus in 2013, I didn't know who she was, but I remember hearing that she had just went Emerald. And I've always followed her since and learned from her. She is so incredible. So take it away, Natalie. We can't wait to hear from you.
All righty. Well, thank you. And it's such an honor to be here with this awesome team and this awesome team of leaders. I'm going to chat with you about my story. And I know a lot of people have this accidental business when they come into Plexus. They come here to try the products to change their health, but they had no intentions. In fact, very often they were adamant they would not build a business. And lo and behold, build a great business, which is one of our phenomenal aspects of Plexus, is that that's even possible. But that isn't my story. And so I'm going to chat with you a little bit about my background, why I chose Plexus, because it was intentional, and it was because of our compensation plan. It was because of our corporate officers, and there's people like me out there. And so I'm going to encourage you through this talk to lead with business, to not expect that everybody comes in as an accidental business, but sometimes it's actually the right ways to lead through your business. So I'll tell you a little story. I'm in my winter home now, which is in Florida, but I spend my summer months in Peterborough, Ontario, and at the cottage north of Peterborough. And so I have the best of both worlds. When I started, Eva started by saying, I want you to think of this as a legacy business. The incredible thing is, even though I had no experience in business network marketing, I was a nurse. I was a manager in the maternal infant high risk program in Peterborough. My parents were teachers, didn't have any business experience. But when I got when I understood network marketing, when I came in my first experience, and I started studying it, and I chose to study it right from the very beginning. Those that were really the mentors in the field back then are different people now, but the ones who were the mentors in the field back then, I got from the very beginning what this could mean for my family's future. We had two really solid careers in our household. My husband was a chartered accountant, had his own practice. I was a nurse manager with a great business. We had 4 busy kids. We weren't looking to be any busier. But when I was first introduced to the very first company, Enrich, and I built 3 businesses to a 6-figure income before coming to Plexus, to give you a little bit of background. 3 businesses. The first one was called Enrich, and it's now called Unicity. And that's a company that my very first month I had a $1,200 check, and I didn't do anything but put the phone number to order products on the wall at the health unit, because I was sharing what I was learning and so passionate about with these products. So clue number 1 is get passionate about the products. I got passionate. I was sharing in the staff room, and all of a sudden I had a $1,200 check, and I had no clue that enough people had ordered that put me in this level called manager there. So I quickly learned that you could make money in this. If you fall in love with the products, you can make some really good money. If you're willing to take them, use them, and share them, you could do well. I was there for 4.5 years. I made it to the advisory board, and I was there when we learned the company had been sold, and we were going to merge with a company that was bigger. So I was business minded enough to know that that probably wasn't a really good thing for those of us in the business, and went and looked for another company. That next company is where I spent 10 years of my career. Made it to one of the top income earners in Canada, one of the top income earners in the company. And I really dug my teeth into network marketing. I had retired from my nursing career. My husband had, at the age of 50, retired. We were doing really well financially in network marketing. We now knew that this was the way to build security through our retirement years, and something that we could will to our children. Well, so we thought. What we learned after 1 year in that company is that was not a company that allowed you to will it unless you died. You couldn't pass it on. You couldn't be sick and pass it on. You couldn't sell it. We actually didn't own it. Only upon our death could that position ever change hands. And that was a real disappointment to learn that we didn't actually own that business, like you do, by the way, here in Plexus. That was a really big thing. Husband and wives couldn't have each have a position. Really enjoyed our experience, learned a lot there, and learned that we were good at what we were doing, but also learned that there were so many other companies that had a better way and had a better comp plan. By the time we were making a lot of money in that company, we realized that they really didn't have the greatest comp plan. And I really started studying compensation plans. Now, it was after that experience, some of you may have heard my story, where I was invited to travel across the United States and evaluate 8 companies in 8 days in 7 states. And 2 of them were in Dallas. So we did 2 in 1 state, but 8 companies, 7 states in 8 days. We've traveled from Port St. Lucie, Florida to Sacramento, California in those 8 days. And I traveled with 7 other professional networkers. I was one of 3 Canadians invited to be on this tour. And it was an incredible experience. And when I was on that, and this is why I came to Plexus. Arlene Wilcox, my sponsor, had mentioned Plexus to me before. I knew the owners of Plexus. I had worked with them in my very first company. Charles was just a teenager back then, but Alec had been there, and loved Alec and his wife way back in those days. And Arlene said, take a look at Plexus again. Well, at this point, this, guys, is something that for those of you who are lucky enough to have been here, made it here for your very first experience or your second experience, I'm going to tell you that what we have in our compensation plan here, and I can say this with probably a fair degree of credibility because I really do know the different models of network marketing pretty well. I've taught about the different models, from the original stair step to the matrix to the binary to the hybrids. I've taught on all of them. And there is no other compensation plan that I've ever seen like the one with Plexus. So I want to give you a couple key points, and I want to watch the time, a couple key things that I want you to write down. Because if you're talking to a networker, and you guys should feel really confident talking to people from other businesses, because I can promise you they don't have what we have. Now, we have the culture, we have the corporate officers, we have these great products, and those are all critical. But people have to be here for a while to gain the trust in the products. They have to be here for a while to learn the culture. Look at all the people that have joined recently. They don't even get to experience leaders retreat and convention this year. So they're going to be a while before they're really going to feel the culture of this company. But the compensation plan might be the reason you bring them in. So I want to just point out a few things that make us really, really unique. One is our low startup cost. Not a lot of companies have a low startup cost where for $132 or 99 US, and right now $9.95, they can come in and build a business. In very many companies, there's a tiered entry level. Now we have 2 price points, but the benefits to you in the business are equally the same, whether you come in with a small pack or large pack. In a lot of companies, if you come in with the larger pack, it actually opens some doors in the compensation plan that are not open to you unless you do that. That's a gotcha that a lot of plans have. And what happens is people come in, it's unaffordable for them to spend the $500 or the $800 to come in, but they're too afraid, that whole FOMO thing, they're too afraid of what they're going to miss out on. So they go out on a limb and they do that. So we have a really low startup cost. We actually keep our 100 PV qualification the same from the day you get in all the way to diamond or double diamond. It's still just 100 PV. That is really unheard of. In most companies, the requirement grows as your business grows. And what it means is people start stocking product just to stay qualified. Plexus doesn't have it. Do you know another thing? I know there isn't one of you that's not using the product that is listening here. I know there's not one of you that can't imagine using 100 PV worth of product. But did you know if you didn't use 100 PV, but you had customers ordering under you, that qualifies you. You can literally go to Diamond and never purchase product if you've got a customer. That is insane. That is insane because the company has actually allowed that to happen where that could have been a secure order for them. There will be some people, believe it or not, who don't place an order because they have a few customers. Most companies would not allow that volume to get washed away. They would ensure that you're placing the order. But here are a couple of the things that make this compensation plan so incredibly unique. One is in a lot of compensation plans, you have to enroll a certain number of people. The binary, for example, you have to enroll 1 on each leg before you get paid. So now I want you to really understand, and because most companies out there use a form of a binary. If you've got 1 in each leg and now you do your second ones, you got 1 here and you got these 2, you're only getting paid on the smaller leg. You're getting a percentage of the smaller leg. Well, what if these 2 people take off like crazy because you don't know who's going to work it, usually the ones you don't expect. These 2 take off and they build 20,000 volume. And the couple of people you put here are only at 1,000. You're only getting paid on that 1,000, not on that 20,000 in commissionable volume. That's a horrible thing. But you know what they're going to say to you? But guess what? You get to bank that volume. When you catch up, you can bank that volume. Trust me, you never bank it. They sell you on ideas like they're going to put people under you. It's going to be a team leg. You'll never catch up. It makes absolutely no sense. Now, the number one biggest thing, if you're talking to a networker, the number one biggest thing is in our compensation plan. You are encouraged to work with the workers. If they're on your first level, great, because you recruited them. On your second level or on the third level. In every single compensation plan I've ever evaluated, I'm not saying most of them, I'm saying every single compensation plan I've evaluated. In order for you to advance, say to I'm going to use the example, you advance to an emerald, you would be required to have a certain number of silvers, a certain number of golds, and probably 1 ruby or 1 senior ruby. So you could have the volume, you could have all of that, but you don't have the personal leadership. And so by not having that personal leadership, you could have all the sales, but you're held from making that rank. Should you make that rank because you finally built that ruby, that level 1 ruby, and that level 1 ruby loses rank, guess what? Your business could have grown, but you've just lost rank. Your rank in most companies is tied to the ranks of the people that you've enrolled. And in some cases, like the binary, not only do you have to create them, they have to be in the right spots. It's like a juggling game. Guess what in Plexus? If you never created a personal gold, you could be a diamond. Now that might sound really crazy, but all we care about is the business that you create. Now, and so you go work with the workers. You don't care where that volume or where those points come from. You can literally go all the way to diamond and you've never created any more than silvers in your business. A whole lot of silvers. You've become a master at developing silvers and you would have a solid business. Even though, and it's not likely that you wouldn't have created some leadership, but you could do that and take this all the way to the top. That is unbelievable, because what that means is if I enrolled Eva and she was a dud, she's not obviously, but let's say Eva was a dud, but she enrolled Sarah and Sarah was the stud. It wouldn't matter to me that Eva was the dud. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to work with Sarah and I'm going to completely disregard Eva. I'm just going to say, thank you, Eva, for bringing me Sarah, but I'm going to work with Sarah now. And that's the benefit of our plan. In most compensation plans, you're forced to work where you least are going to be benefited because you've got to build up those legs or you've got to get those people qualified. So here we can genuinely and authentically work with the people we want to work with, even if we didn't enroll them. I want you to understand that. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with, because I'm probably at my time, is I want to say this to you. When you are talking to a networker, you want to sell them obviously on our culture and on our products and all those things, because it is incredible. I've never seen anywhere in network marketing where team leaders work together like they do here, where cross lines, cross sisters, cross brothers work together to help one another. I've never seen it. It's the vast opposite of everything I've ever experienced. And it started with the top with Alec and Tarl, who said, this is the culture we're going to have. And they instill that in all the leadership. And that's the culture that's been created, which is really, really unique. But you know, one thing I will say to somebody is I'll say to them, we also really value customers in Plexus. We pay on customers like no other network marketing company has. And so in most companies, you cannot generate an income until you generate a network of ambassadors, marketing executives, and distributors, whatever you call them in that company. Plexus, you could actually generate a significant income with just customers. So I'll say to somebody, tell me how much income I would make if I enrolled just 2 people who are buying regularly, or 3 people, but also tell me, what would I earn if I got 10 customers who are spending $100, $150 a month? You guys know that if we have 10 customers doing triplex, we're making over 400 US, about 450, about 600 Canadian on just 10 customers. We have a lot of people out there who know 10 people who could use our products, and they could have a solid residual income. That would be like $6,000 a year. Do you know at 2 or 3% interest, they would have to have about $250,000 invested in the bank for that $500 or $600 a month income. I want to leave that with you, because that is something that other companies don't have. And some people are not ready to be a builder. We need time to evolve them into a builder. But if you can help them get 10 customers and you can help them have $500 or $600 reliably coming in every single month, $6,000 a year, equivalent to over $250,000 if they had it invested in the bank. You don't know how to help them get $250,000, but you can show them how to get the interest income of $250,000 by helping them get 10 customers. And ask them what 10 customers would mean in their company. I can tell you that company that I spent 10 years with, guess what that would have meant? $70 a month. So we have the best of both worlds. We pay a lot of money on building a network. We pay a lot of money on building, on bringing in customers. And we've got the culture that nobody else has. Go look for the networkers. They're hungry for a business like we have. Now, I know my story is different because I came in for the business, and most of the people you're going to talk to just fell into this business. Darn, they got lucky. But there's a lot of people like me who want to know about Plexus. With that, Eva, I'll pass it on to you.
Okay, so I have chills. That was so good, Natalie. Thank you for just building our belief yet again, because every time we hear you speak on this topic, we are like, yes, this is why we're here. This is why we're doing this. And we forget all those little details. Like, I don't remember all those things that you said. Like, every time I'm just more and more grateful for what we have. When I started in Plexus, it was for the business also. It was actually my husband who wanted us to do it for the business. So we did accidentally find out about it. Somebody shared it with us, but so we weren't looking for Plexus, but we were looking for something to do from home that would be worth our time and would be residual income, so that we wouldn't have to be working all the time. So I can relate in a little ways, wanting to right from the start make money so that we could do the things that our family desired to do. And so anyway, That was just fantastic, Natalie. Thank you so much. I can hear everybody clapping. So when I started the business, I didn't know all of this stuff about Plexus. I didn't know that it was the best ever. I just trusted my husband. He said, this really, he looked at all the numbers. He's like, this really looks like it'll be worth our time. I didn't understand the compensation plan. I was a Ruby before I fully understood the compensation plan, which tells you, you don't need to know everything about the numbers or how you get paid in order to get paid. But I just knew what I wanted for my family. I knew that we wanted to travel. I knew that I wanted something different than having my husband being gone 2-3 weeks at a time and me being home alone with the kids. I wanted a group of people, friendship, community, and this was just all of that together. But I didn't realize how much fear I would have when I started. It started right away where I started sharing, and I had all these people in the background from my background, from my past, from my present, who would say things and thought network marketing is crazy. And okay, I'm just going to say this right here. If someone says something negative to you about network marketing, they don't understand it. So you can let that roll right off your back. They have no idea what they're saying because they've never looked into it. They've just heard something their grandma's daughter's wife, no, husband said. So just disregard. You can just let that roll right off your back. Yeah, the fears came right away, things that people would say. And I quickly realized, like, I forget who says the saying, but Plexus is just a personal growth system with compensation plan attached to it. Every time you get to a place where fear attacks you and you feel like you can't get to the next place, that is especially the time you do not stop. You do not listen to the words that are being spoken over you. You do not listen because your why has to be much stronger than that for you to be able to stop. And so when we started, it was our why that kept us very strong. I cried lots of times. People said stuff about me. I cared what people thought about me. Not so much anymore because they don't pay my bills, but that's how I understand those fears, all those newbie fears that people come in with. I so feel that with you guys. And so when my husband and I sat down and planned for this business, we went into it with a long-term vision right off the bat. We did not think to ourselves, okay, let's try it for a month and see how it is and see how much money we can make and maybe we can buy something special with it. It was with the full intent on making this our plan for our future. And like Natalie said, for retirement, like this is going to be our thing. We believed people that had gone before us because we saw what they had done. And so our why became so strong, it became bulletproof. I love saying that. It was bulletproof for anything that would come and attack us. That doesn't mean that there weren't struggles along the way, but that was our plan and our why, and that created a long-term vision for us. Our passion, my passion for it, I quickly realized that, well, this was later on when I realized this, actually, later on, that other Canadian teams were struggling sometimes because of the challenges that we had, and our team did too. But oftentimes we missed the challenges. Like our team was hardly ever focused on what was going on in all of Plexus world. We were just passionate, and because we had found something awesome in Canada and we were telling people. And so finding later on from other diamonds that their Canadian teams had disappeared or different things that happened because of all our challenges we had before the launch was kind of surprising to us when we found out. I know Marge remembers this too. Was kind of surprising because we were so passionate, nobody could tell that there was like hardships. We were like, oh yeah, this is just a little bump. Let's go to the next thing. And so my point here is your passion can outride so much. This is why sometimes we spank some of our new ambassadors when they're complaining about certain things, because we're like, you do not know, like you have like everything. There was times in our business where we could not post anything. We could not talk about it in public. The only way we could talk about Plexus was to personally message someone. That that was the time. There was so many different things that Marge and I will probably share a little bit later, but it was our passion and our belief that took us forward. I remember I was about 2 months in and I had 30 customers and all of their packages were stuck at the border, like all of them. And then they did get their package and it was empty. Marge was one of my first customers and she was mad. Everybody was mad, like everybody. And I was so like, I took it personally. And then I learned there's no emergencies in Plexus. Plexus is going to take care of it. Corporate's going to look at it and they always work things out. And so I could have chosen to stop right there. I could have chosen to be like, this is not where I want my name associated. I then realized that this is the beginnings of a company and this is how it is. My husband so often told me like, honey, no company is going to be perfect. Not even in their first whole 10 years of doing things, they're never going to be perfect. They're always working things out. And so on and on we went, perseverance, long-term mindset all the way. Then I guess I should share this story because I have it written in my notes. So when I was Ruby, this is another time where I hit the lid of some of my personal growth. I want to share this with you guys. Some of you have heard this story before. When I was Ruby, I feel like, and I tell this story, I say I almost died at an event because that's how it felt for me. It was my very first in-person event. I had done lots of online stuff. I was at home, so I was always working like through Facebook and stuff, but I was doing an online event, took my kids. I had 3 little ones. I sat them along the wall at the event. I trained them to sit there nicely because I'm just going to spend 1 hour talking to these people about Plexus. And I legit went totally blank. My knees were shaking. My heart was pounding and I felt like I would die. Like I had flashbacks to all the times I almost died doing concerts in front of like Christmas things in front of like all the audience, school parents, and wanting to puke. And it was just like my body was giving up on me. And Sherry, blessed Sherry, who is a sapphire now, she was there. I think she was silver at the time. She rescued me. She rescued me and she took over for my event. I was so humiliated, you guys. I called Andrew afterwards and I said, I quit. Like, I cannot ever do that again. It was so humiliating to me. And I thought about it afterwards, why that had happened to me. And it wasn't very hard to figure out that the whole time I was standing in front of those people, I was thinking about what I looked like, what I sounded like, what I was going to say, what me. That's all I was thinking of. And that's why that happened. Now, I did not look at their faces. There was like about 15 ladies there. I did not look at their faces. I did not think about their lives and how they could be changed. I forgot. And I just focused on myself. I was so nervous. So I still get nervous. My stomach was gurgling right before we went on this Zoom. I still get nervous. But now my focus is on you guys. Like if there's one person on here whose business flourishes like crazy because they finally got that key that they needed in order to make it work, this is so worth it. And so anyway, I didn't quit. I didn't stop. And Marge, I'm taking up a bunch of time here. I'm going to move it along. But anyways, guys, don't quit when you hit a place in your business where you feel like you can't go on and it's just too hard. That is the exact moment where you go further. That is the exact moment where you don't stop and you keep moving, because you're going to have a breakthrough that's not only going to affect your business, but your whole life, your parenting, your marriage. It's going to be something that you needed to work through all along. So just go through it. It'll be so worth it. Another thing I wanted to share was just that we always created our own momentum. We didn't know what other teams were doing. We didn't know anything that was happening on other teams. We always created our own momentum and had our own fire. So one of the things that was always my fire, and this is what I want you guys to do, is figure out what fires you and makes you the most pumped up. For me, it was definitely FOMO. I did not want to miss out on convention because that was the first convention I had to miss out on. Andrew was working out far away. I had no babysitter, no family was living close to me, and I had to miss out on Hawaii, however many years in a row. Everybody who desires to be there can feel that in their gut, how they don't want to miss out on that stuff. If that's your fire, remember it every time something gets hard. But if it's not your fire, like get something that is going to be your fire and is going to not keep you from going forward. You want to go forward. So, and your why is going to be a big part of that. So I want to now introduce you guys to Marge. I named her the master of vision casting because that's truly what she is. I have seen this girl go through so much in her business, and I've seen her grow unbelievably much in her personal growth. I've seen her go in the pits where she felt like she couldn't get out, and she came out victorious. I am so proud of her. So Marge, headed for Diamond, please share away.
Don't start with tears. Oh, that was so good, Eva. Thank you. That took me like a little bit down memory lane.
Yes.
And there is so many things, like you said, that we could be adding to that. There's so much on each person's individual journey. And I had the pleasure of doing it with this girl. And so I'm going to share a little bit of who I am and where I live and all the little things. If you don't know me already, if you know me, bear with me. So I started pretty much exactly about 7 years ago is when I ordered that bag of pink drink from Eva, because she's like a pretty good keyboard warrior, and I was up at 1 a.m. and so was she. And so she said, you better try this. She sent me her website link, and it was late, but I ordered a bag of pink drink. And that's where the whole thing started, right? Why was I actually even paying attention to what she was posting? And in the beginning, Facebook was pretty kind. Facebook pretty much allowed us to say anything, which, you know, we all know isn't really happening nowadays. But those posts and those stories were captivating. And there was pain in my life that when you feel that you're not making progress ever, it becomes very hard, right? So I'll give you a little bit of a vision of that. We had been struggling financially for a good part of about 10 years because we had decided that me and my husband wanted to raise our kids together, him not leaving for the week anymore, like always being gone all week, which we had already done for 9 years. And so we wanted to be together. We had to sacrifice for a smaller income. And that meant I went to work as well, which 2 working parents, raising 3 kids, sports, volunteering, parent-teacher boards, all the things, trying to have life on the side. We all know at the end of the day, there isn't a whole lot of time. And then we went through a spell of just over 7 years of pretty heavy grief and helping someone walk through a very, very hard cancer journey, little children left without a mother, and then losing those children as well yet. So stress, anxiety, insomnia, so many things pile up on the mom, right? And so we always want what's best for our family. So who do we put first? We put the kids first, usually. The adults can wait, right? And that was me. So I came to the end of 2013, and it was time to recognize the fact that I was standing at the edge of the cliff. And I'm shaking as I'm saying this because I hate that feeling. I remember distinctly being there. And so if ever you feel like you've lost of why you came to Plexus, go right back to the beginning, to that feeling, and just pull it out of you. Because me and Eva have been talking today. Sometimes we need those reminders. We need to be reminded of why we took that leap of faith, right? So we didn't have finances. We were really, really penny for penny, taking financial courses, trying to be smart. But you know what? At the end of the day, there was no room for giving. There was only making sure that we had food on the table, bills paid, and the kids had what they needed, just basic life, right? I started with the intent of not sharing. I was that person that Natalie talked about saying accidental business, right? And when I started, it was primarily to keep myself alive. Like if I can just sleep, I can be better tomorrow. That's pretty much of the grain of salt of hope that I had, right? And I started with that. That was all I needed. I actually slept 2 weeks in. I slept, and that was my next little light at the end of the tunnel, right? I remember clearly telling John that if this just makes me sleep, it's worth it. It's worth it. Absolutely, right? And so that's how I built my belief, just by the small, small victories. And I wasn't even looking at other people yet, but the other people were looking at me. And so I was working full time, and I was, recognizing the fact that I was able to show up better. And so when you're in the public eye and you see people every day, I had been working in the public for just over 17 years. People knew me. We live in a small town. So they saw the change. I had several people within the first month lean down over me I was doing office admin at the time, and they leaned over my desk and said, Marge, what are you doing? So they were recognizing what was going on in my eyes, right? I was getting life back. Taking charge of my own health was pretty much the first step to belief. And then I started recognizing of what this looked like. I started recognizing that I'm just focusing on myself. And that's where that yucky feeling comes in. Like when Eva couldn't do her event, that's when we know that the eyes are all just turned inward, right? And so I laid awake at night thinking of who I could tell. And then I just did. And I did the same thing. Like I wrote out that message and I walked away from the computer because I was so terribly nervous. And I showed up at Eva's Zoom event and just fumbled through almost memorized words because I was so terribly nervous, right? It takes those awful, awful first attempts before you actually start getting better. Because you know what? When you start a book at chapter 20, you kind of don't get the whole meaning. You know, you have to start at chapter 1. And it's okay, because that's what helps you grow there, right? And so people started recognizing that, and I started reaching out. My business grew pretty quickly. I live in a small town. I had a level of influence where people knew me, and it started coming. And I also cared pretty deeply about what people were thinking, because when you're always out there, they're always seeing you, your family, they know who you are. You have developed certain relationships that mean a lot to you. And if those people come up against you, questioning what you're doing, that means a lot. That strikes deeply, right? And so I slowly started believing Eva when she said, where are you going? What's your dream? What do you want to do? We hadn't been dreaming for over 10 years, guys. What's dreaming? We were dreaming of paying next month's bills. That was it. And when that started, you know, becoming a little bit more of like, you guys are always talking about dreaming, like maybe do you think there's a chance of me not having to work? Maybe I could come home. Maybe I could work from home. And so that was my first dream. That's what I, you know, started with slowly, and started seeing other people were doing it. It's got to be possible for me as well. At Senior Gold, I walked out of that office, never went back. Hallelujah. No one owned my time anymore. That was such a huge difference. I was a fish out of water for the first year, didn't know what to do with my own time, didn't know how to manage it, but it came. It was a new kind of freedom that I understood that I could pour into other people. And so, like I said, learning to dream, and that this was a possibility, and then always coming up against your lid. So we came to Senior Ruby, and we did a large event in my small town, and people were starting to recognize that Marge isn't just doing this to make everyone feel good. She's actually doing this to make money. When they don't understand what network marketing is, and this is still someone's aunt's brother's story, they come up against you, right? And so I'm not going to go into the details, but pretty much my whole town came up against us, and I lost a large chunk of my team. And I remember feeling so devastated and so, there was no wind in my sails. There was nothing left. And I had to decide, is this about me, or is this about our future of what we had just started dreaming about? And so my advice from Kristen Ebert was, go find more people. The world is full of people. It doesn't have to be your hometown. This is a virtual business. You can do this anywhere. That's amazing. That's amazing. What other business would you just pick up and move elsewhere? It wouldn't be possible, right? You have to, you know, move your stock, move your building, move your influence, everything. This you can build anywhere. And so that's what I did. I distinctly remember like doing massive amounts of reach outs and just really focusing on reaching out of my warm market, not doing just the people that I knew, not just doing the people that they knew, but reaching out into completely new markets. And there's so many people out there. And like Natalie said, never has there been more a year now than 2020 where people are looking for something like we have. Like that has been evident in our company, right? And so I came to that spot of where it made me so upset at the regret that I had at what I had missed with my kids growing up and me never being there, at the regret that I had missed with not recognizing how short life was and that my friend had to die and I still had to work. it made me mad. It made me mad. And I wanted to understand that feeling, that if this is the way that I can build forward and not have to have that old style of life of just, dollar for dollar and month to month, then why wouldn't I persevere? Then why wouldn't I push forward and lean into those hard things, right? What's holding you back? There's always something that's you're allowing to hold you back. And so I knew that there was some really, really big things that were backing us up. Company and structure and that compensation plan. Guys, go learn it. I remember asking Eva, what's these 5 points in my back office? And I was almost gold. And she said, they're yours, silly. We learn as we grow and we get that opportunity to do so. We have the structure of our sidelines. Like that's a huge community. We have the structure of our uplines. They're always continuously pouring into us, right? We have that funnel that's always coming downward. We have the ability of building belief in ourselves and choosing to use that to always grow forward. And so when you find yourself hitting that lid, and I did multiple times, then you have to learn, okay, where am I? What am I doing to push forward and to get into that next level of growth? What am I scared of? What am I avoiding? Like all those questions, right? And so building belief in myself was a job. It was a pretty big job. I had done all the regular things. I had told myself all the self-doubt, all the lies of someone else is better, all the comparison things that I could find anywhere else. I had not joined this company for weight loss, so I got some pretty snarky messages back, right? Like all the things of the self-doubt, the comparison, the lies I had told myself, the anxiety, all the things, I dealt with them too. I had to pick them apart and decide of whether, am I going to let their opinion stop me now, or am I actually going to move forward and allow that to fuel me? Allow that to make that, okay, that's another stone that I'm going to pile up to build my castle, right? And so always look back to see how far you have come and not on what you haven't done yet. Like that's a huge movement in seeing your growth and knowing that you're going to have to fail forward. You're going to have to move forward in order to make sure that you're reaching that next level of growth. And so here I was plugging along. Guys, it was almost a no-brainer for me to show up. And so we weren't traveling people. There was never money for that. And so convention contest came up and I was like, oh my, I want to go to Arizona. We had never gone to Arizona. And so I looked at that and I tried to figure out what it would take. And I took that, I remember taking, I'd printed some details on it. I remember taking it into our bedroom at night and I said to John, hey, we're going to go to Arizona in June. And he looked up from his computer and he's like, and I was so insulted. I was so mad. It's like, how dare you say that? Here I am working hard. Like, and I remember allowing that to fuel me. I didn't retaliate to him. I didn't say big things like, oh, I basically said, watch me. And so by the time that contest was done, and by the time we were actually ready to go, I think I paid about $300 for John to come because there was like some flight credits and something. And I had earned that whole trip, everything, and we went. That was the starting point of us seeing that this was the possibility for our future. John came to convention. When you have your people in your household that matter the most in your life, like I'm talking of those that actually matter, not the outside voices that you're allowing to influence you. Talk to the ones that matter in your shareholders. Your shareholders are your kids and your husband, whoever is like directly invested into your life. Build your goals based upon their needs and their wishes. Bring them alongside, show them the possibilities. So at that convention, me and John started dreaming together. And then we were like, this can literally be our future. We can totally build this and we can actually get out of this hole that we have been in for such a long time. And so there's a lot of things that happen when you build in a new country. So sometimes where we were trailblazing was basically a heavy, dense forest. Like it took a lot of work. And then we had trailblazed a long trail and then they said, oh, stop, wait, we're going there. And then we built a new trail. So when Eva talks about perseverance, yes, perseverance, that was a daily choice to show up for that. And so here we were plugging along and then all of a sudden we were like building towards Emerald. I remember being so terribly scared of being put into that chat going emerald, because that was so scary. But we did it June 2017. My team worked super hard, amazing, amazing accomplishments, and we made it to emerald. And so at convention, we actually officially became emerald. And then we had an international meeting during convention, and they told us, you guys will not be posting any product. You guys are not going to be talking about the fact that you even have product. The only thing that you can talk about is that you actually have a business opportunity. And we were like deflated again. We had built this whole road and now it was done, right? And so what were we going to do? We became creative. We became super creative. Guys, we even did a launch event where Alec came from corporate to Edmonton, Alberta, and we packed the house. There was standing people. It was shoulder to shoulder. Eva had just had a baby. She wasn't there. We did the whole thing. We did not mention once that we even had a pink drink. Zero. Alec told his story, poured into people, held babies and hugged people just like he always does. People left with belief. They left with belief regardless, because we knew what we had. We knew the backup that was there for us. We knew that those stories were real, even if there was certain someones that didn't allow us to say that we had products, right? And so you can tell of where we had to draw from our why so often and so much, and we had to decide every morning if this was worth it. And I truly think that with that being our situation, that is what has built us so far to become such a legacy in Canada already. And so now the roads that have been built, I truly believe that they're there to stay. I was just told by our corporate in Canada that many, many other countries are looking to Canada for the standards of what Health Canada decides our products are, and then that's what they're going to use because of our standards are so good. And so we have had to deal with those kinds of things. Our products are in a pipeline waiting to be approved before we can actually officially have them in our Canadian back office, right? Guys, that's okay. That just means they're coming up to a higher standard. And what we then have is what we're going to be able to deliver with a very solid foundation, like a super solid foundation. And so decide what this means to you. Like that's truly, truly the thing. You're going to have to decide what this means to you and how you're going to be able to bring that forward, even when things are not going right. Even when we go through a back office update and we lose all our subscriptions. Yes, we did that. We called it our back office Armageddon because we had to revive it. We had to build a whole new back office with no subscriptions, right? And so all these things are just stories that you can now look at and think, well, there is no emergency in Plexus. And if those guys made it through that, I can make through whatever's coming now, right? And so you have to want it so bad that no amount of appeasing yourself or excuses stops you from leaning into that growth. I'm going to leave that there for now, Eva.
I was deeply entrenched in your story and I didn't think that was the end. That was so good.
There's
nothing more.
There's more. I'm going to save it for later.
Okay, good. I can't wait. So yeah, there's nothing I can add to that because that was just incredible. Marge is always so good at that. We're going to go on to Rosanna and Sarah. They have prepared the most amazing thing. I've seen some of their notes and they're going to share with you some lies that they believed, that they no longer believe, and how it changed how they lead their teams and how they think about themselves. So Rosanna and Sarah, I don't know who's going first, but take it away.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh my goodness. So 5 years ago, you guys, I had just left my career as a real estate agent. I was at home on the couch, 3 little babies, thinking that this was it. This was going to be my world now. I was always going to be tired and just didn't have the drive to do anything. But deep down, I knew that there was something else that I was going to do, but I just had no clue, you guys, because I just didn't have the energy. I had nothing to even think that I was going to go any further. Never mind if someone had said that I was going to be on this Zoom today talking about leadership, you guys, I would have laughed them out of the room, like completely laughed them out of the room, because I'm an introvert, and we don't do public speaking. We run far. Like in school, if I had to do any sort of public speaking, I was sick that day. I didn't even care how many marks I lost. I was sick that day. So anyway, so Sarah and I are super excited. We both chatted yesterday. We have some great things planned for you. And we are going to start by telling you some of the lies that we did believe, but you guys, it's no longer. We want you to know that these aren't lies that we believe any longer, but they're legit lies that we had for a while there. And so Sarah, when she told me one of the things that she felt when Eva had asked her if she wanted to do this, I laughed out loud yesterday. So we're going to start off the live with Sarah sharing a couple of hers, and then we're going to go back and forth like that a little bit.
Hey everyone. Yeah, one of the first things that came to my mind just a little bit, but was that there must have been a list, right? There must have been like 10 people she asked. I must be like down this list and nobody was available. I mean, why else would she ask me, right? So just this feeling immediately of like unworthy, right? Like me, like why me? Like what? Like that you must, is there nobody else? So that's definitely a lie that I just immediately was like kicked out of the room, because that's a lie to believe that I am unworthy. Why me? I don't have something to say.
Yep. So another lie I believed was I literally had nothing of value to share with anybody.
Yeah. Another one I had, especially when I first started, was I'm not a people person. I don't know anyone. Whoever I do know, Eva already knows them. So it's not for me.
Another one I have was I don't have any influences and I don't know people. Like, guys, what's Instagram? And I think I had 150 friends on Facebook when I started. I think that might be being generous.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. And a big one that came up for a long time, and I know a lot of us use this, but it's still a lie to say I'm too shy. I can't do that. I'm just too shy.
That was 100% me too. Another really big one for me was I'm a follower. I'm not a leader, so I can't do this.
Yeah. Another one, don't know if we already covered this one, but that my voice doesn't matter. And how that usually comes across for me is when I'm in a chat, or not so much anymore, but this is more in the beginning. Remember, these are lies that we've already overcome and we're past them, but we know that some of you can relate to when you're in a room, or maybe even in a chat, where there's people who are like, oh, they're ruby and I'm only silver, where you believe, oh, my voice doesn't matter. What I have to say doesn't matter because Eva knows a lot more about this, or Roseanne knows a lot more, so I'm just not going to say anything. So that's definitely a lie to believe that my voice doesn't matter in this circle.
Yeah, and like that, the next one that I was believing too, and comparison, you guys, comparison is the thief of all things. And so one of the things I always felt too is, well, I'm not like so-and-so. So whoever that may be to you, friends, uplines, whatever, that was also a lie that I was believing going into this.
Yeah. And the lie that I'm not qualified, like I don't have what it takes, so not qualified.
Yeah, and then lastly, the one really big one for me, you guys, especially when I first started out, was, well, I can't even get my family and some of my closest friends to join, so clearly I can't do this, because if I can't get them to join, how am I going to get strangers to join, right? So that was another lie that I was 100% believing.
Yeah. And one more that I had written down was that I'm not confident. So right at the box, telling myself that, what's the first thing you feel is not confident. So all of these are lies that a lot of us tell ourselves. And the more we say them, the more we believe them. And I believe that doesn't just limit ourselves, but limits the people around us, because we have so much incredible value within us. And when we limit ourselves by saying, oh, I can't do that, I don't really talk to people, or I'm not a people person, or I'm too shy, I'm not confident, is we surround ourselves with that, and that becomes our reality, because we made it so, because we said that, and that's what we think, and that's what we make our reality. And there's people around us who who need what we have. Like we're made in a way that we have value, we have stories, we have things to share, we have ways to serve, we have gifts to give. And when we don't give that, that doesn't just limit us, but it limits the people around us. So right now, there could be someone who really, really needs a boost of confidence and just needs to see someone somewhere stepping out. And so if you, even if you're really scared, do something, even though you're scared, you go and do it. Even if you feel like that didn't do a whole lot, but that can affect someone else who their scary thing is going to affect a lot of people. So that ripple effect is huge, just stepping out and doing things that are really scary. Yeah, I'll pass that over to you, Rosanna.
Yeah, and so we have to remember that the choices that we make every single day, the choices that we've made in the past, the choices that we're making today, you guys, all those choices will affect our future. So how do you want your future to be affected, right? We have to think about that every time we're making choices. So I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm going to try not to cry during this story. But I remember so clearly, I think it was about 3 months after I really started intentionally doing the business. I remember one of my top leaders in my team made the comment to me, Rosanna, one day when you're a leader, you're going to understand. And that hit me like a ton of bricks, you guys, because I thought I already was the leader. And so it hurt. I definitely bawled my eyes out. I totally stopped working because I felt like, okay, so if my own downline didn't even view me as a leader, then who was I? Then obviously I shouldn't be here. This wasn't the place for me, because if I couldn't impact my own downline, then what? Then why was I here, right? So for so many months, you guys, I allowed that comment to essentially validate all those inadequacies, all the lies that we shared before, that I already told myself to believe that they were right, and they weren't. So my business completely stalled because, like Sarah said, right, what we believe affects not only us, but everyone around us. And so I watched my downline surpass me in rank, and I truly didn't believe that I would ever make it to Emerald, let alone Diamond. And so I believed all those comments from people around me that I was only here because of them, that it was luck. You guys, so many people told me that it's just luck, Rosanna, it's not here to stay. And all those negative thoughts, you guys, I let them take root, and it wasn't pretty. It was not pretty for so many months. And I felt like the only thing I could do then was, well, I guess I can send out gifts to them because they're always winning trips and winning prizes, and I should celebrate them. But my heart didn't want to. And so that's what I did. And then the day that I started feeling worthy, and you guys, it's through incredible friendships, through incredible upline, through amazing coaches and mentors, all the things, that I started to realize that I was worthy, and that I needed to let go of all that negativity. I needed to stop believing all those lies, because that's not who I am. That's not who I am. This business was entrusted to me, and it was made for me, and it didn't matter where I was at. Everybody's journey is so different, you guys. So you have a choice. You can believe the lies and continue in that downward spiral, or you can believe in the greatness that you are and just move forward towards those passions and those dreams. And so you've heard a few of them already talk about your why, and remembering your why, and your why needs to be stronger than all the opposition that's going to come against you, because opposition is going to come against you guys no matter what. It's going to come. Be ready for it, and just have a really strong why to get you out of it. So that is just one of those stories. There's a few more, but I know Sarah has a really great story she'd love to share with you as well.
Thank you, Rosanna. That was really, really good. And I can definitely relate to that, most of that. For me, when I started Plexus, I was single. I was very broke. Won't get into that now, but I was ready. I kind of started with a bang. I was ready, whatever it takes. I'm going to do this. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care what I have to do. I know I'm an introvert. I know I'm all of these things. People, you know, everybody knows I'm shy. I'm not a people person. I don't know many people, but I don't care. I'm going to do this. And so I just went out and did things, even though I was scared. And I was with Eva a lot then, and we lived together a lot then. And I know she was a big part of that push, like just pushing me. So even when I didn't feel like doing something, I knew she was going to push me. So I just went and did stuff. I had an event planned. I would go door to door, knocking, inviting people, did an event that I planned for an event that nobody showed up to, stuff like that. But I did things even though I was scared, because I saw someone else did this, and I knew this was important, because I read stories of other people who were doing big things, and I saw other people being brave, so I decided to do it too. And I remember one day I decided, you know what, I'm gonna start handing out some business cards. I'm just gonna tell people like in town when I'm shopping. And so I go to the bank, and back then we got paychecks from Plexus, like physical paychecks. And I go to bring it in, and usually, being my introverted self, I would just put it in the money slot. I wouldn't go and talk to any people. But this time I go boldly into the bank, bring my little, it might have been like 30 bucks, I don't know, but I bring my check into the cashier person, and I right away like, yeah, it's from Plexus. And she's like, oh, she hadn't heard that. So I did a little vomit thing about all the things Plexus is. And I was like, oh yeah, it's amazing. You should try it. And I give her my business card, and I just like dash out, and I just go to the nearest car, and it's not unlocking. I can't open it. I can't get in. And then all of a sudden I realize where I am. It's not my car. It's not even the same color. It's like nowhere. It's not even anything close to my car. My heart was just pounding and racing. But that's what I did, you guys. I just did things really scary. I spoke at events. People would be like, wow, Sarah, I'm surprised you spoke. I'm surprised you shared your story. And I'm like, this is what I'm here for. I'm ready to do this. And then I grew my business. I got to Ruby in like about a year and a half. I got to Ruby. And that's where all of a sudden it kind of hit me. And that's where I began to believe the lies. I suddenly began to think, this is my lid. This is as far as I can go. It really came down to what I thought it was worth. Like, this is like, who are you to think you're going to go higher than this? Who are you to think of going senior Ruby or Emerald? I couldn't picture myself doing that. So I just began to believe the lies, especially that I wasn't a good leader. I hadn't helped a whole lot of people rank up yet by that point. I don't know. I might have had a couple silvers and stuff, but I had a couple people ranking up, but I thought, obviously I don't know how to do it. Hadn't signed someone up for a while. I obviously don't know how to do it anymore. And so I just let myself stand still there. And you guys, I was there for 2 years, at least 2 years. It was probably longer, but I was there for like a good long 2 years, just believing this is where I'm at. This is kind of like where I've landed, and this is kind of my max. And the income was good. I think we made about like $2,000 a month. I got married right before this time, and it was our main income for most of the time. And we got by. We made it work. We budgeted. We made it work. But really, all we really thought about was ourselves. We thought about like our gas tank, how full is it? We thought about groceries, what we could get, what we couldn't get. We thought about when the next paycheck is, and in Plexus, our monthly pay is once a month. So that felt like, that's years apart. We were like scratching until then. And it took me a long time, but I got to this point where I realized, like there's more, there's gotta be more. There's gotta be a way that I can find more within me somehow to do more than this, because I want so much more. My husband has big dreams. I have a family now, and we want to do these things, and we literally can't do big, beautiful things like we dream. We can't go and do big, beautiful giving. The whole reason I started Plexus was to give. And we had kind of come to a standstill with that. So when you reach that point, I know people do reach that point where you kind of are at a standstill and you don't know how to go further. Just be okay with being really vulnerable and telling people, and be coachable, because it's really, really normal for people to come to a standstill and then having to break through and have more personal growth before you can go further. But we don't really talk about it. And so you see everybody else ranking up, you see everybody going places, and you feel like it's just you sitting down here. So just know it's really, really normal, but you don't have to do it for 2 years like I did. Like, just tell someone and just talk about it. And my sister introduced me to a coach, and she was just instrumental for me to help me just see. She brought me back to believing in my value and what I had to say. And then I could once again start messaging people with confidence. And she helped me to see that by me holding back, by me believing this little sphere here is all I'm going to be, that was outside of my purpose. Like, my purpose is so much bigger, and I'm holding myself back. Like, it was my choice. And that hit me really hard, to be like, wow, I chose to be here. I chose to put my lid here. And so a big part of it too came down to I knew my identity, I knew who I was, and I knew it was amazing, but I wasn't putting action into it. So that's a huge part, knowing who you are, knowing what your gifts are, putting action into it, taking it like put a step into courage, a step into faith, just go out and do something. Like, I love information. So those 2 years, I was on all the trainings, I was on all the things, listening to all the things and sharing information and all the information stuff. But that didn't get me anywhere because I wasn't stepping out in action in the things I was learning. So I hope tonight you guys are taking notes and putting this stuff into action, because I think everything they've been sharing so far has been really, really, really good. I'll give it back to you, Rosanna.
Oh my word, I could just listen to you for a lot longer. I wish your story wasn't done. But you guys, these are stories, right? These are stories that have shaped us into who we are today, that have brought us to this place, right? Those may have been pain points, but those are pain points that we learned from to get us to where we are today. And we're still not done learning. And so I would encourage you guys to surround yourselves with upline, sidelines, downlines friends, anybody that you admire and respect. But most importantly, guys, people that you can be super honest with. So like with Sarah and myself, right? We know that it's the action step that we need to take. So who are you going to go to? Who are you going to go and talk to? And who are you going to receive that honest feedback from, and maybe receive like a swift kick in the behind from? Who are you willing to accept that from? You need to go talk to those people, right? And it needs to be people that you know are truly invested in your future, that truly want you to succeed, because anything that comes from them, you know, is coming at you with love, and that they really, really want you to get to that next level, right? So being so vulnerable that you're able to admit that maybe some things that you're doing maybe need to change, and finding that greatness and seeing that greatness in your team, you guys. That is so, so, so important. Okay. I know Sarah has a couple things to say about this, and I'm excited to hear about it.
Yes, you need all the different personalities. Seeing the value of all the different people on your team. I know sometimes we're like, yes, we have this one person, she's a runner, she's amazing, but just see the value in all the people on your team. One person loves to naturally lead, the next person loves structure and goals, and the next person is the person who just brings the joy and the fun into situations, and the next person loves coaching and seeing people through breakthroughs, and the next person is the quiet person who's always there, but they're strong and steady. And isn't that a huge part of what our team is made up of? Is the people who are just there, always there, they're supporting, they're steady, they're there, they love Plexus, they love what we do, they love supporting us. Just see the value in each of those people and help them to see their gifts, and just watch them flourish when they see their own gifts and how they can put those gifts out there as well.
Yeah, and as a leader, you're going to be put into all these situations, guys. Literally all the situations are going to come at you, but how you respond is going to matter. Your team is watching, so lead by example, but it doesn't need to be perfect, right? That's important.
Yeah. Another big thing that comes to mind when it comes to introverts, like Rosanna and I, is don't use your personality as an excuse. Every different personality has unique gifts. Every individual here has really unique gifts and so much value to share to everyone. You are qualified. You already have what it takes, regardless of what your personality is like, regardless of how people view you or see you, regardless of how you've been up to now, until now. You already have all the things within you to give. You have the gifts, you have the words, you have what it takes. And really it's just serving people and reaching out to people and connecting. And you can do that. Everybody can do that regardless of personality. I think that introverts I don't think they can have an excuse to be like, oh, I'm an introvert. I think that's a good thing to be an introvert, because introverts are good leaders, and introverts are good listeners. Introverts are really good connectors and communicators. And those are all the things you need to be really good at doing a business. So introverts are incredible.
Amazing. So we shared some of the lies that we believed in the beginning, and we really want to end with some positive affirmations that Sarah and I personally have used to get us where we are now. Yours may look different, but we just wanted to give you some examples of ours. So Sarah, why don't you start? We're going to share a couple and then we'll end this up.
I have value to share.
Yes. People want to hear what I have to say.
My story and my voice matter.
I am the perfect leader for my team.
Yes, I already have what it takes. I am qualified.
And then lastly, I am so excited to meet and get to know all my new friends.
Yes. So just remember, guys, we're always growing as leaders. There's never this aha moment, this level, this place where now you are officially a leader. Leaders are always learning, always growing. So choose growth over comfort. Give yourself permission to stumble, to learn as you go. And most of all, I believe, partner with God and His Word. Claim that over your life, and that'll be game changing. Just knowing who you are in Him, and then taking that and putting that into courage and taking it out in faith and in courage. That'll change everything for you.
Love it. Love it so much. Hey, Sarah, we did it.
Hey, Marge, you want to introduce our next speaker?
I do. Ladies, that was phenomenal. Literally, like, I was just like, yeah, I need to be standing up and cheering. That was so good. So good. Last February, we had a monumental, even my dog is getting excited. She's like, what are you saying? We had a monumental event happen in Canada. And so all these things that we're talking about tonight finally led up to February 2020. And here we were getting our triplex back. Finally, right? So you guys know that it was several years that we were getting our ProBio 5 from the US still. And so we were always constantly trying to make up for half subs, all the joys. And here we were, finally we had this brand new product, and Plexus was going to do cross Canada events, bringing together all our teams and sharing what we had. And so we knew that there would be events in certain cities all across Canada. And so we got the notification that Brooke Knitz would be coming to Edmonton. That's where me and Sheila would be sharing and bringing this news and some training to our teams. And so I was like, oh, yay, who's Brooke Knitz? Facebook, boom, boom, boom. That's where I went and found her. And the funny thing was, I was like, oh, she seems so nice. Of course, right? Absolutely. This is Plexus. We just pick people and they're like, we're all one Plexus. And that's always the beauty of whoever I have met along the way that has come to be a building block of Canada has always been exactly of what we needed at that time. And Brooke was no different. It was so incredible. She walked into the hotel, we got introduced to each other, and we were like, sisters, here we go. I think I've always known you. So friends, it is like my huge pleasure to introduce Brooke Knitz. She is a diamond. She is a mom to her 4 boys. She is a wife to her high school sweetheart. They have a lot of sports and track and stuff in their families. So I love the analogies that she often uses for team growth is similar to how you build discipline and structure and things in sports. Huge illustrations there to be had. I love that. I think that the big thing that I'm really starting to, what I want you guys to hear is her heart, literally, because when you have come through these hard things like Eva, like Sarah, like Rosanna, I've heard parts of Brooke's story. This girl has persevered like nobody's business and come from places of where when you see her now as a bright and shining diamond with all this wisdom, just know that she started at chapter 1 as well, right? She did. She absolutely did. She chose to do the hard. And so guys, it is just my absolute pleasure to introduce Brooke to you today.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you guys for having me. And I'm already crying, like just at the intro. So there I am, like I wear my emotions on my sleeve because crying is not weakness. So that's something I'll tell you right off the bat. I was a kid who never cried. And I thought that you had to be tough. And I remember saying like, never let them see you be weak. Never let them see you like, no, throw that out, like forget it. And I caught some of what you guys were talking about and it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. You guys were sharing your fears and where you were because oh girl, I was like at chapter 1 or chapter like -50, whatever you want to say. Like I was in the garbage can of mindset, but everyone around me thought that I was super confident. I'll just start with that. Everyone around me, the person who recruited me when I called her, and I'll just say it on here, like, because I am who I am and I'm not going to lie. When I saw my very first Plexus post and I went to call my friend, one post, y'all, I'm the anomaly. I saw one post and I called her and she said, hello. And I didn't say, hey, this is Brooke. I said, what is this plexus crap? That was my question. That's not very nice. I don't let my kids use that word, but I did. But here's what I want to tell you, what I know now about why I said that. It was my ego. My ego had me ask it the question that way, because do you really think that I wanted to admit to her that I needed help? Do you really think I wanted to admit to her that I was screaming at my kids behind closed doors, that I was eating rows of Oreos, that I was addicted to Diet Coke, that I didn't love my body, that I didn't know if my husband found me attractive, like all of those things, because that's what we tell ourselves when we're not paying attention. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit tonight, and I'm an open book, and you guys can throw stuff in the chat. You can interrupt me. You can say, clarify that. You can say, expand on that a little bit more. And our time will be brief. And even after this, if you need more of something that I've said, just reach out to me, because I love mindset work. Because after I healed my gut, I remember thinking, oh, where did that thought come from? Oh, I didn't like that. Where'd it come from? And I got to take a look at here. I got to take a look at my heart, because that came from somewhere before it popped in my mind, and I didn't like it. Thank you, Sam. She said my podcast is so good. I started a podcast because I'm so, I just can't not share this stuff, because y'all, we need gut health. And then once we fix our gut, we need to fix our heart and souls and our minds, because that's what allows us to show up in the very best way possible and walk in our greatness and be everything that God intended us to be. So I want to start a little bit and talk to you about perspective and the lens that we view the world, because we all have it. And I'm actually, the podcast that drops tomorrow is about this, because I get stuck on a topic and it's like the hamster wheel in my head, and everything's about that for 2 weeks for me, right? We like fall in love with a drink, you drink that for 2 weeks. You fall in love with a dish, like I do the same thing with mindset. So everybody has a unique lens, and you may not know it. You probably don't even know that it exists. It's not something you get up and you put on. It's just part of who you are, literally part of who you are. So the lens that you view the world is unique to you. Anyone outside of you does not perfectly understand your lens. Your spouse, my husband and I, we've been together since we were 16. I just told him things sitting in the hot tub. That's where we do a lot of our talking after our kids are in bed. Those 4 boys, we escape and go sit outside for a little bit of like quiet time. And he goes, I just don't even understand where that came from. Where did that thought come from? I've never thought that in my life. We've been together for 24 years and he didn't know that I had that thought. So I just want to illustrate to you, like, people, even the closest people to you, cannot possibly understand the way that you view the world, because it is so unique to you. It's like your fingerprint. You're the only one that has that. And here's why. It is because it's made up of every time you've had a high, every time you've had a low, every time something tragic has happened, every time something awesome has happened, when someone gave you a compliment, when someone bought your meal at McDonald's, when someone said, oh my gosh, you made my day, when someone said, your hair looks cute, when someone didn't invite you to their birthday party, when that boy broke your heart, all the things. I just want you to think about the roller coaster of life. Every single thing that you do, it's not like we pick and choose. They all make up that lens, y'all. And every single day it's on our face and we don't even know it. So what Sarah said when she was talking about like those lies that she was telling herself, I love that she said that, because we often judge others. And it's because we see the world differently than they do, right? And we think they should see it the way we see it. Absolutely. Like, isn't my way the only way? What do you mean you guys don't see it? Like, you guys must be crazy. And I'm judging you. But what I want you to entertain tonight is, what if, just what if, you are judging others because you're also judging yourself just as harshly? And I'm going to ask you that again, because that's like oh, really? Often when we see things out here, we get to take that mirror and we get to turn it around and go, oh, so I can tell you every time I dislike that girl for what she said or did, if I take an honest look, I don't like myself for that same reason. If I dislike the way that mom yelled at her child in Walmart, if I take an honest look, I do the same thing to mine. But, we don't ever paint ourselves in that same light, right? So I just want you to know that your perspective is so unique. So when you reach out to that person and they come back and they have an ego and say, what is this plexus crap? They don't have your lens. They don't know that gut health is good for them. They don't know what our community has to offer. They don't know that we're a bunch of amazing, uplifting women that really do want what's best for one another, because that's not usually the norm, right? So I just want to talk about that. I just want you to entertain the idea that when others don't see the world the way that we do, the way we think they should, we should stop shoulding on ourselves, right? Shoulding doesn't get you anywhere. We can shoulda all day long. And all it does is make us feel guilty. And then Guess what? Hamster wheel, more judgment. So when other people don't see the world just like you, I want you just to be aware. And the first step is awareness, to just be aware that you have your unique lens and it makes you who you are. I also want you to go, okay, next step is you don't shame and you don't judge yourself for knowing that you have it. It just is. It's neither good or bad. It's actually what makes you pretty awesome. Because if you and I saw everything the same, our world would be pretty boring, right? If we all liked everything exactly the same, our world wouldn't be. We like variety, we like spontaneity, we like fun. You don't want the same rerun of the same show every single day, like Groundhog Day, for the rest of your life. That's not fun. So we don't want others to have that same lens, but we often judge them for that. So in this world, what I want you to know is we get to show up authentically. And because you have that lens, you're like, oh, that's why I can be an Enneagram 1. I can be a blue. I can be a researcher. I can be a introvert. I can be like, think of all the tests. I can be an ENFJ, like whatever. Put yourself into any box. And you're like, but I don't actually show up quite like that person. That's because you are authentically you. And there's only one you. Only you can do you. So the one thing, the biggest pitfall I think that I've seen people in Plexus do, or in social media, period, is we think that we have to show up as somebody else. And what I want you to know is that you just get to be perfectly you. Like that was all you were ever created to be. That was ever all you were ever called to be. That's all. When you show up and you get responses for your posts, it's because you show up authentically. It's because you trust the beautiful intuition that God gave you right here. And that idea like didn't just come from nowhere. That's the one that pops up and he says like, message that person. You're like, make that go away. Like it says, oh, you should go talk to that person in the bank. Nah, I don't like that one. We second guess our intuition all the time. But when we are guided by that, we're always guided by it. When we listen to it and we lean in and we are obedient, that's when beautiful things happen. That's when you get amazing responses. That's when people are reaching out to you going, tell me what your secret is. And you're like, what? Like, I didn't do anything today. I haven't posted in 48 hours. I'm not even out of my pajamas yet. Yeah, but you are doing what you're called to do. And when you're authentically you, it's easy. It gets to be easy, you guys, for sure. It gets to be easy. I promise you. You may think that I'm crazy. There was a time I believed that this business had to be hard. And that's actually just a form of resistance that I believe because it got me off the hook from doing all the hard things. It's not hard. It is whatever we want it to be. And it gets to be easy. It gets to be fun. It literally lights me up. It is whatever we want it to be. Okay. And I want to discuss worthiness really quick. I'm not sure if someone said this on this call tonight, but if they did, that's okay. I'm just going to like hit it home a little bit because I want you to know something that I believe to be totally true. Number one, I love seeing all my friends on here. Like I see a lot of familiar faces that I miss you guys. Like I miss all the connections in Plexus right now, but I would love to come hug all of you guys. I'm a hugger and I'm a connection person and I love my people. But what I want you to know for all the lies that you believe, because when Sarah and Rosanna were talking, we all know that we filter through our own experiences. So as they were talking, you were telling yourself all the lies that you believe about yourself in your head, maybe ones that you've never admitted out loud before. That's okay. It's okay. We're not judging and we don't shame ourselves because that doesn't serve us. But what I want you to know is that you're worthy. You've always been worthy. You were always worthy. Before you were given a name, before you took your first breath, before your cells split from 1 to 2, this is what I believe to be true. You can argue with me all day long and I will win. I am the debate queen. I will win. So we can talk about this later, but before your cells split from 1 to 2, you were worthy. You were worthy enough to be created, which makes you worthy. You were worthy before you joined Plexus. You were worthy before the first person told you no. You were worthy before you hit silver. You were worthy, actually, I'm going to challenge some of you guys, before you became a wife, before you became a mom. You were worthy then. You've always had worth. It is without question. I'm giving myself goosebumps. You are worthy. So I just wanted to like nail that real quick, to like put a pin in it before we go to the next step, because you are worthy, 100%. And I want you to believe it. Maybe no one's ever said it like that before. Maybe you need to replay this recording later. That's okay. Wash, rinse, repeat until you get it through your head that you are worthy. So I want to talk to you a little bit about, I love that you guys said you get to choose. Oh my gosh, you get to choose. I want to tell you something that I work with my coaching clients with, I coach my team with, like this is my favorite thing to do. And I didn't come up with it, so I'm not going to take the credit for it. It's Tony Robbins, but it is the cornerstone for everything that I do. Literally, like everything that I do every single day this is what I do. And I get to manage my state every single day in every moment. And so do you. And I'm going to go really quick through what state is. I keep bumping my microphone. So if you guys hear me, that's just me like showing up as authentically me. So state management, it's made up of 3 things. And I'm going to whiz through this really fast, but I'll try to be like concise and say it a couple times if you're taking notes. State management is made up of 3 components: focus, language, and physiology. Focus. What are you focusing on? Are you focusing on what you can control or what you cannot control? I can tell you, if you've been following Facebook with the US elections, people are focusing on what they cannot control, y'all, and they're losing their minds. That is called a lack of state management. If you want to like have a tangible example of what that looks like, I can't control that. We can't control that. We can do our part, but we can only focus on what we can control. So what you can control or what you cannot control. The second component of focus is, are you focusing on the past, the present, or the future? And if you're focusing on the past, that doesn't serve you. Tomorrow, we aren't promised that. The only thing that matters is that we focus on the present. And the third part of the focus part is, are you focusing on what you have or what you lack? If you're focusing on what you have, you're coming from a place of abundance. That is when you are literally showing up as authentically you. If you're focusing on what you lack, those points you don't have, that you didn't get to leaders retreat, that dream teamer that decided to join another company, all the things, the time. Oh, you guys don't have the time. We don't have the energy. All the, I don't have enough blank, whatever that is, that's your favorite. It's okay. That's coming from a place of scarcity. I love how Marge says, she says it more like scarcity. Like I have to get my northern accent here, but scarcity. I love it. I love it. I quote you guys to my kids. It's my favorite. So focus, what you can control, what you cannot control, the past, the present, or the future, and what you have or what you lack. And then the second part of state management is your language. What are you saying to yourself, friends? Literally, what are you saying to yourself? Are you saying, these people don't believe in me? I'm a terrible leader. I'm never going to make any money. I've failed at everything before. Why would they believe me? All those things. Or what about the things that you're thinking in your head in the sweet little thought bubble right here that you're unwilling to even admit? Like my husband who says, ooh, I didn't know you thought that. Where'd that come from? And I'm like, I don't know, try second grade. It's been with me as long as I can remember. Literally. And it was about me judging myself. And I'll get to that point. If I don't talk about that, Marge, remember me to put a pin in the fact that we still do this work and we still grow, because I just had a huge revelation this last week about how much I was still judging myself. So our language, your language is so powerful. What are you speaking over yourself? What are you speaking over your team? My team doesn't show up. My team quit on the end of the month. My team doesn't care about this incentive. My team isn't doing their part. My team isn't communicating with me. Okay, do you want that to be true? Is that thought serving you? Or what about, I love my team. My team is a volunteer army that they choose to follow me. You think about the language that you're saying. And the third one is physiology. Like right now, I know that you have no mistaking like how excited I am about this work and how much I love it. You can see it in my posture. You can see it in my face. You can see it in everything. Literally, physiology is simply your physical state. Are your shoulders back? Is there a smile on your face? Are you taking slow, deep breaths? Like, where are you? Or are you the child who didn't get their way and they're sulking with their shoulders down and they're pouting? That is so much effort, you guys. But seriously, think about when your kid throws a fit and they sulk out of the room, literally. So I want you to think about the last time that somebody inappropriately farted in public. Okay, I saw some of your smiles on your face. That is changing your state. You can change your state like this, literally in the blink of an eye, literally. Or I tell this story too, and it sounds a little bit awful, but it's just true. We've all been in a funeral or somewhere really solemn and serious, and some kid blurts out like, what's for lunch? Or they say something and everyone giggles. Like in an instant, you go from like solemn, like sad, like heavy to like everyone's giggling. That is when you change your state, and you get to choose that. You get to choose. So what I want to ask you is every single moment of every day, like if I could tap you on the shoulder and be like, Eva, hey, yep, what's your state, girl? Hey, let's check your state. If I could do that, I would tap you every single time you needed to breathe. That's how important it is. It's all day, every day. That's constant work. And if you are in a space where you're pouting, you're focusing on what you don't have, your language is bad, and you're talking about the past or what it's in the future and you haven't reached that goal yet, if you're in that space and you're not managing your state for good, you get to ask yourself this question. What am I gaining by staying in this state? And the answer is not nothing. And that's kind of a gut punch, right? What am I gaining by staying in this state? And the answer is not nothing. That's where this work comes in, that we really do get to manage our state, even if our kids are throwing a fit, even if like they're crying, even if they're being disrespectful, even if we're running late, even if we just spilt milk all over the floor. We get to choose. We don't have to. So I wanted to come back to the fact that we all get to continue doing this work. We all get to work on ourselves, whether you have a team of 1 or you have a team of 7,000, or whether you have no team at all. I think it's worth investing in you. Like, this is the most important work I've ever done. And I can tell you, I thought the most selfish thing I ever did was push join on Plexus and spend 100 and whatever I spent, $23 at the time or something on myself. That's what I thought was really like selfish. And then starting to work with a coach and work on myself, I thought was selfish, until I started modeling good behavior for my kids and my spouse and my team. And then I got to watch that ripple effect go down to them. And it is a beautiful thing, because when you work on yourself, it doesn't just change you. You literally bring different energy and different weather to the room, and everyone around you changes. And guess what? They can't help but change unless they're choosing not to, unless they want to stay in their pouty state. And guess what? The room will clear out. If they don't want to change and they don't want to grow, they don't want to be around you. Nobody wants to be around a happy, like, well-managed person if they're choosing misery, right? It's okay. Like, God does a little bit of that weeding of our garden for us, and it's a beautiful thing. Welcome that. It is okay. Not everyone is where you are. That is okay. Let me make sure I'm checking my notes to make sure if I am staying on track. Oh, the only other thing that I was going to talk about real quick, because I know our time is brief, is that none of us are ever stuck, you guys. We're never, ever, ever stuck in this business. You're not stuck in life. You're not stuck in your marriage. You're not stuck in parenting. You are not stuck, ever. You are not stuck. You are simply labeling your resistance. And we all have our favorite flavors. It's kind of like ice cream. Like, I like chocolate almond, but I would eat like Rocky Road, and I would eat cookies and cream, but my favorite is chocolate almond. Well, okay, let's like substitute other words. I could say boy mom. I could say, I always run late. I'm too busy. You know, I'm just a hot mess. Think of all the labels that you've put on yourself or you've used to simply get out of what you don't want to do. You're not stuck, my friends. You're just going into, is overwhelm your favorite? Used to be mine. Used to be mine. Overwhelm, because then I could shut down and it gave me an out for all the things that I didn't want to do. But it all started with state management and knowing that I get to choose. And it started with managing here. And then that began to be healthier thoughts here. And that was healthier actions for my team and my family and all the things. And that helps me show up authentically. That helps me show up as who I am and who I was meant to be and who God intended me to be. Because God did not intend you to be a hot mess, to be overwhelmed, to be so frustrated you're yelling at your kids, to hate the team that you've been blessed with, to be resentful when they don't show up. That is not what he intended for you, my friends. That was never, that's not his will. That's not his goal. That is you kind of, we have a beautiful way, because if we say all those things, then it's not our fault. We don't have to walk in accountability and we get to blame. So I'll leave you with this question. Preach, Alicia says. I'll leave you with this question. And I'll have to go back and read the comments because I haven't really been paying attention because I get a little bit like distracted all over the place. But when you find yourself blaming, complaining, or pointing fingers, I want you to take a look at that area. When you're blaming, complaining, or you're pointing fingers, that's a great place to start on your personal development journey. Because generally, again, that mirror's right here, really kind of stinks. I'm going to be real honest when we get to go, oh, shoot. And it's okay. You cannot fix or change or address or grow if you're unaware of what areas you need to work on, what areas you get to work on, because it's a choice. So where are you blaming? Where are you complaining? And where are you pointing fingers? That's where I would dig in first. And I could talk to you guys for like 7 days about all this stuff. So, and my kids could probably give you this whole talk because they get it too. My son will be like, everything's neutral until you send an emotion to it. That must be scarcity. And we're on our way to get milk. And I'm like, just stop it. Stop. They're funny. So was there anything I didn't cover, Marge, or you want me to expand on?
I would take all night if I could. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. It's definitely, I'm sure of it, planting seeds in many brains here tonight because it's
Yay.
such incredible value. Thank you so, so much.
Yeah. And listen, my podcast will be out tomorrow, like that talks about perspective. And I kind of go on a tangent. So it might sound like tonight because I get like stuck in a thing. But thank you guys for having me. Seriously. You guys are
Thank
awesome.
you so, so much. Thank you. That was amazing. Where are we going next, Eva?
Okay, I am so sad because we are now going to have our last speaker on. I'm so happy we got to do this mini convention for you guys. It's going to be so fun to rewatch this and send this to our new ambassadors, the recording. I'm so excited because it's got like a little bit of everything, all the flavors like Brooke was saying. I love it. Okay, so our last but not least, and probably going to be the best and knock it out of the park like she always does, is going to be Alita. So I met Alita. Maybe we met before, but my first like big memory of her was at that event that Marge was talking about when she went Emerald, and we went into this room at convention where we were told we can no longer share anything in Canada. That's where Alita came in and spoke to us, and she had the whole room bawling. You guys, the room was packed. There was people trying to get in the door to hear her speak. And she wears her heart out in the open. You will fall in love with her if you have never met her before. I'm not going to share her story because I want her to share it, but she has gone through so much and she has come out victorious in the end, and grown this incredible team. And she's just an incredible leader. So Alita, let's hear what you have to say.
Well, girlfriend, come and live in my house, introduce me like to my kids, like say all these nice things you just said to all our kids. I love y'all so much. I can't even handle it. As soon as Eva messaged, she's like, hey, would you want to? I'm like, girl, tell me the day and time. I'm going to clear my schedule. I'm going to make it happen because I'm Canadian, represent. And so I live in Nashville, Tennessee. And when I get nervous, I talk like a Southern DJ for no apparent reason at all. But being around all the Canadian accents, I feel like, okay, I'm gonna keep my cool here. I'm not gonna get really nervous. Brooke, that was dynamite. I was nodding my head through the whole thing when you were sharing. I'm like, girl, this is so powerful because actually mindset was just a huge part of my journey too, in my personal life, but also in my business. And kind of when it's like when your purpose and your passion collide, magic happens and it explodes. And you're just like, what in the world just happened? And you're sitting there witnessing this life that you dreamed about before. You're like, this is crazy. Like I'm living the life I dreamed of. And I never knew it was going to be possible. Like I didn't always totally believe it, but doing mindset work and really digging into personal growth was so crucial for me. So I'm going to take you back. 5 years ago, I joined Plexus, skeptical, all the things. I'm like, what's happening? You know, I didn't want to do it. I homesteaded, y'all. I taught cheese classes. Who teaches people how to make cheese? Like, I didn't even know that was a real thing. So that's what I was doing. I'm like, okay, I'm really into health food. My friend Jen Leith, feisty redhead, we know her, we love her. She bought a cow for me. This is like the most ridiculous story. She buys a cow for me and she's like, you got to do Plexus. So finally I'm like, okay, you've been asking me for 18 months and now you just bought a cow and you don't I don't even think she eats beef. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. So I start and I'm pumped. And it's funny because when you talked about that, when I came to that international meeting and they asked me to share, it was actually the first time I'd gotten up and shared before my story. I think it was before I did convention, I'm pretty sure. So it was the first time. And so I got up there and I was talking about how my husband had said, you know, you're going to join and you're going to make me a kept man. And it was like, that was my goal. It was like, okay, well, I'm going to do this and take the stress off. So I started Plexus. And when I was senior Ruby, my late husband unexpectedly passed away. We had 4 small kids. They were 6 and under. I was nursing a baby. I had a farm. I had all the things and we had no life insurance. And y'all, my whole world was flipped upside down. I was a young mom. I was scared. I was vulnerable. I was feeling all the feels grieving a massive, massive loss, and also trying to really make a decision in my mind and in my heart. And when Brooke was talking about choice, I was just like, and a couple of people on my team are on here this, from my Canadian team are on here tonight. And I saw them put like, Alita, you know, choice, right? We get to choose. I say it every single morning on our power hour. We get the choice to decide what we're going to be today. Who am I going to be today? And so I remember poignantly waking up one morning. I had actually attended a Sonia Dudley mindset course like 3 weeks before my husband passed away. And so I had kind of learned these tools, like I had new tools in my tool belt. So when you hear things like you're hearing tonight, I really hope and pray you write them down and you let them sink in. And you take a moment and you're like, how can I apply this to my life? How can I be disciplined to apply this to my life? Because you never know when you're going to need it. And I think at that moment when you're like, okay, I'm ready to dig in and go and up level, I'm ready to go to that next level, you can call on those tools that you learn. I don't know why I just did this like a minor. I just did this like a minor. I don't know why. Okay, but you can call on those tools that you've learned and use them and apply them to your life. So I wake up one morning and I look at myself and I'm like, okay, I've got a choice here. I'm at a crossroads. I can choose to surrender to the fact that, okay, I'm going to be a single mom. I'm going to have all these little kids. I can't work my business. I can't show up for other people. I can't make all the decisions. I just can't do it. Or I can choose a road of victory. Choice is simply mindset choice. I can choose a road of victory. It's going to take some discipline. It's going to take some consistency. It's going to take some passion, and it's going to take some belief, but I'm going to mix it in there and I can choose that. So I went down to the Lowe's, which is like just like a home hardware store here. And I bought tub tile because I didn't want to spend any money because I was so afraid. I was just like stockpiling my money. And I bought tub tile, y'all, for like $3. And I said, cut me the biggest piece of tub tile you can. And for the very first time in my 33 years on this earth, I took a power tool and I freaking nailed that thing to my wall in my bedroom. And I wrote down, because I was like, I'm taking this serious. I wanted my kids to be like, my mom walked that out with, you know, humility and grace. And she showed up. And I just really felt like it was about more than just me. I felt like, you know, my story was kind of famous in our small town, and I wanted to just be a glorifying light to what God could do in my life. And so I just made a decision. I was like, okay, there's going to be hard times, but I'll never forget. My mom called me during that time, and she was going to pass away 6 months after my husband. She had pancreatic cancer, and it was, again, awful. And I was traveling back and forth to Canada, and she called me one time, and my mom was also widowed when I was young. And she said, you've got to learn to discipline your disappointment. You're gonna have to learn that early on, is you've got to discipline it. You can't just wallow in it and pull yourself out. I feel like she was into personal growth before personal growth was cool. And she's kind of like Barbara Mandrell of personal growth. And so she just told me, she's like, girl, like, you're gonna have to discipline yourself. And she said, you know, so whether that's like you feel really sad and bad, it's like, let yourself feel those things. No judgment, no shame. You're allowed to feel those things. But then on the flip side, you're gonna be like, okay, that's still not going to slow me down, and it's not going to stop me, and it's not going to keep me down. You know, tough things happen, right? And tough times don't last. I promise. I'm here as a testimony witness. I lost my husband. I lost my mom. I lost my dad. I lost my aunt, who was like a second mom to me, all within a year. It was absolutely crazy. I felt like Job, and I had 4 small kids, and I was building a business. And it was like, I just felt like the world was stacked against me, but there was just something in me. It was like a warrior. It was just like, no. And I realize now, looking back, it was just simply a choice to choose to get up, to choose to show up even when I didn't want to choose to be like, I'm starting a power hour with my team and having only 3 people hop on. And then I'm like, I'm still going to show up. I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to do it. And to this day, we have 60 people on every single morning on our power hour, Monday through Friday. And it's amazing. It's like showing up even when you don't think people care or want to, it's showing up for yourself. It's showing up and learning to encourage ourselves. So many times we're looking to outside sources to encourage us. Maybe you can relate to that, where you feel like, man, I'm always kind of needing my upline. If my upline's kind of off, or they're kind of doing something else, I kind of feel off. Or if my downline's not really doing anything, if my team's not really moving, I feel like I can't move. And I want to challenge you to challenge that belief in your mind. I want to challenge you to really be thinking about, is that actually my truth? Do I really think that they get to decide how I'm going to be today? And so there's just a great question to wake up every morning and say, who am I going to be today? Am I going to be the leader that shows up even when no one else does? Am I going to be the mom that shows up even though I don't feel like it? And I think it's really about learning a couple of things. It's about learning to discipline your disappointment when you feel frustrated or discouraged. It's setting a timer and being like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then it's having a blueprint for success. I hired a coach and he's like, what's your blueprint for success? And I seriously went like this. I don't even know what that means. I'm like, number one, I can't even draw a straight line to make any kind of blueprint. Number two, I'm just chaotic. Like, I just feel like I wing everything. And that's when I got serious about being intentional about a blueprint for success. So my blueprint for success, this comes into play almost every single morning, but it also comes into play anytime I have some bad, like a bad time or something happens or my feelings get hurt or I'm struggling with mindset stuff or I'm struggling with grief, whatever it is, whatever hard that's coming your way. Because some people listen to my hard and they're like, man, that's crazy. It's so hard. I shouldn't feel this way. I shouldn't feel like mine is so hard. Listen, I thought my life was so hard when I was married with 4 kids. I thought my life was so hard when I was single. There's always going to be hard because we're human beings and you guys are precious and there's going to be hard stuff. But do you have an actionable thing that you do when things get tough? So for me, and I would love for you guys to write down, what is my blueprint for success? Mine is I put on lipstick. Okay. It's pink or red. Like it's like bold to the bone. Like this is happening. I'm making a shift. Okay. For me, it's turning on good music or a podcast and listening to something that's going to fill me up, fill my cup up, change my state, just like what Brooke was talking about, and really make a difference in my attitude and my lens and how I'm seeing things and how I'm seeing those problems. And so really kind of just having this blueprint for success. And there's a few more things I do, but really making that decision and saying, okay, I have a choice to make here when I feel discouraged or frustrated. That's the part of disciplining ourselves that is so essential to keeping on building your business, is to being disciplined with your disappointment. There's going to be times that happens. And so really kind of grabbing on to that. I love when she was talking about complainers and all that stuff. I was like, yes, one of my favorite things is, whiners are not winners and complainers are not obtainers. So whiners are not winners. So if you're whining, okay, and this is something that I feel like because of my story, because of my situation, people are like, come on and talk about not whining. Because people are like, they feel sorry for me. You're not going to be like the single mom widow over there, all those things. So, but for real, it's like, if you're whining, dig into that. Why the heck are you whining? Because you ain't winning, girl. If you're whining, you ain't winning. And if you're complaining, you sure as heck ain't obtaining. Okay? Because you're focusing your bandwidth and your energy elsewhere on things that just don't matter. You're focusing it on what so-and-so's doing. Can I get an amen on that? Right? It's comparison. It's like what so-and-so's posting and how many likes they get. And I'm not getting that. So I'm not going to post anymore. And then we convince ourselves that, we're just not good enough. We're not cool enough. We're not pretty enough. We don't have big enough earrings or red enough lipstick, or I don't talk as good on camera. You guys, when I first started my first videos, I am extroverted, but I'm literally nursing a baby and milking a cow and being like talking in this weird Southern accent that is not normal for me. I don't even know where it came from. Like, y'all need to go silver. And I start talking about going silver. And I'm like, I watch it. I'm like, I crack up so hard because I thought I had to be somebody else. I was like, okay, I just gotta, but the part that I look back and I don't judge is I'm like, girl, you did it. You showed up and you're like, okay, I'm just going to do what I need to do to get to where I want to go. Y'all stop looking to the left and to the right, to the up, to the down, and start making a decision and saying, I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to jump and grow my wings on the way down. There's trial and error. And that every time we fail, quote unquote, we're learning. The best thing I've ever done for my mindset is to stop looking at everything in black and white. It's a failure or it's an achievement. I started to look at every opportunity every kind of trial or tribulation in my life as an opportunity for growth. Do you know that looking back on my life over the last 5 years, I wouldn't change anything? I wouldn't change any hardship. I wish that I could tell you guys, you know what? My husband died and I went emerald the next day. I didn't even have to try. I just woke up and it was like, bam. That was not it. I had to work my booty off. I had to work to get to sapphire. I had to work to get to diamond. I had to learn. I had to grow. I had to make a decision at silver that I wanted to be gold. I had to make a decision to stop whining and start winning, and to stop complaining and start obtaining, and making that decision that I was going to discipline my disappointment, that the definition of insanity was doing the same thing over and over again and not expecting different results, right? So I decided, if I'm feeling like things aren't moving the way I want it to, what can I change? What here, and what in my consistency can I change? And so that brings me to point 2 of consistency. I don't even know who I am half the time. It cracks me up when I'm talking about stuff like this. Consistency and discipline. I love to talk like in stories because I just feel like I want to talk to you guys like I'm sitting in a living room with you, because that just makes me feel just so connected and awesome. And I just love you guys so much. So consistency compounds. We've heard it a million times. I mean, put in the comments if you've ever heard in Plexus that consistency compounds, that you need to be consistent, right? We hear it all the time. We hear it over and over and over again, consistency compounds. So why is consistency so important? Consistency is important because it's showing people, it's like the littlest things add up to the biggest things. The littlest things, the showing up, doing that Zoom call with those new ambassadors, because you never know when it's going to take root. Consistency to me is actually vision casting. It's showing people that I'm willing to show up because I believe in the vision of what I'm doing. I believe in the passion and the purpose of what I'm doing. And that is why I would still be consistent when my husband died, when my mom died, when my dad died, when everything was falling apart around me and I felt exhausted, when my kids who had only ever eaten homemade cheese were eating boxed cereal and frozen pizzas. I was like, I'm still showing up because I feel this passion. I feel this purpose, that there's something more out there. And if you're struggling with consistency and you're struggling with discipline, you need to ask yourself a question. Why am I doing it? Because when it's about you, or it's about, when it's about me, we're very prone to kind of off and on. We're very prone to become complainers and whiners. But when it's about more than just you will become unstoppable. You will create a movement of a team of people that will come, they will be attracted to it. They will be drawn to it. They will be like, what's this girl doing? Like, there's something here because she's showing up even when nobody else is. There's something here because she's showing up even when we think like, oh my gosh, isn't she so busy? because people are going to see and they're going to feel that energy shift, that you're going to shift the atmosphere in a room when you walk into it, because you have a passion and a purpose that is bigger than yourself. And it's really digging down into that why and saying, okay, yes, like what else is it? What else is there that I really see a movement for, that I really see a vision for, that I can bring people along? And personal growth and mindset are so powerful, because when you start to see other people empowered, it starts to energize you. And you're like, yeah, this is something big. When you start to see another single mom, like I'm telling you, Jennifer Leith will cry at a drop of a hat talking about my story. She had no idea when she bought a cow from me that that my husband would die, that I would be widowed, that I would have this crazy story, and that Plexus would have changed my ever loving life, that it would have changed 4 babies' lives, kept them safe and kept them, comfortable in their livelihood. She could have never known that I would remarry just the man of my dreams, and we'd have 3 more kids and another one on the way. Like, she could have never known what Plexus was providing in my life, or for the thousands of people that would join my team that she would impact. She had no idea. But do you see how powerful that is? Jennifer Leith's water was turned off when I was her friend. They couldn't pay their water bill, y'all. She was showering out of the neighbor's hose so she could rinse her hair out to come to homeschool co-op. She had no idea when she took a chance. And so whenever something comes up and I am tempted to whine or I'm tempted to complain, I just remind myself, whiners are not winners and complainers are not obtainers. And I lost my right to complain when I realized what an incredible opportunity this is. And the incredible opportunity you have in your hands right here, right now, in this moment, to make a decision, to draw that line in the sand that says, I am no longer a complainer, I am an obtainer. To draw that line in the sand that says, this is more than just about me, that this is about all these other people, that it's going to ripple out in effect, that I'm starting a movement, make a decision, that I'm going to show up when nobody else does, that I'm going to be that person who's disciplined. And, I could have got on here and I could have said, okay, this is exactly what I do. Step 1, 2, 3, 4 to be consistent. But y'all, that ain't how I work. I don't work off Excel spreadsheets. It literally reads in a foreign language to me. I just don't have that kind of brain. But you know what I am consistent in? I'm consistent in my passion and my drive for something I believe in. I am disciplined in my disappointment. I am disciplined in insisting to myself that I show up even when it feels hard, even when the kids are like, I need this and I need that. And like they flush something down the toilet and it's like overflowing and you're like, I gotta get on a call. I'm not saying that happened tonight. It may have, but I'm just saying it's showing up even when you've got like stacks of laundry in your office. Okay. It's like, it's showing up even when real life is hard. It's showing up because people will feel that passion. And your boldness is directly related to somebody else's blessing. Jennifer's boldness with me has blessed my life beyond comparison. And so I just want to, if I could come through this screen and grab your faces and go like this to you, I'd be like, girl, boy, man, child, whatever you are, you can do this. That it's just simply about making a decision. So I'm the queen of awkward endings. So I didn't know what else. Just peace, peace, love, and joy. Merry Christmas. I don't know.
That's exactly what I do at endings. I am the worst. So March.
It's so awkward. It's like, I feel like there should be some kind of like exit strategy that I have, but I have yet to find it. So
Maybe like, oh, I think I'm going through a tunnel and just like blur everything.
I just click end, I'm gone. Everyone's like, what? What just happened?
Okay, you want to end this? And oh, this has been amazing.
This was phenomenal. This was like way more than what we had even imagined, which just shows you that every one of these speakers, what they said is exactly what happens. When you just show up, that's what happens, right? God moves, he gives you the words. We were all nervous. I was saying I was coming on empty because a couple of weeks ago I had this thought for this event, but today it was like, where are those thoughts, right? God gives as you need. And this was just so much more than I had even dreamed it was going to be. So thank you all. Thank you, Alita. Thank you, Brooke. Thank you, Natalie, Rosanna, and Sarah, and Eva for just running with my brainwave there. So good. I just feel like there's not ever an excuse or a reason, something valid enough for us to not show up now. Like everything has been covered. And so there ain't going to be any reasons that are going to qualify for you not to do this. You're going to have to find it within yourself now because you've got all the tools to do it. You have all the know-how, and your heart is going to propel you in that direction. And so a favorite analogy of mine is always Plexus is this huge table. And we've talked about all these things. Like I'm just like overwhelmed in my brain of how many things we covered. We covered the, not fitting in. We covered being an introvert. We covered being too much. March is always too much, right? Like as a child, I think the thing that I heard the most was be quiet. Like, and that's not to my disadvantage now. That's to my advantage right now, right? And so we can grow from wherever we are. It doesn't matter who you are. And if you listen to Alita, if you know these stories, it doesn't matter. You still have purpose. You still have a plan to execute for him. You can choose. You can choose to stay where you are. That pukey, awful feeling, not knowing if you're going to be able to buy the milk or not, having to get up with the alarm and going to a job where you absolutely hate doing what you're doing, you can choose that, because then you don't need to lean into this hard, heavy personal growth. Then you can just stay with, something that's familiar doesn't mean that it's good for you. And that's, a huge analogy in our life. We're going to choose comfort, even if it's destructive, over leaning into pain, because we're all wired to resist pain regardless. And, I was that mom that held down the legs and knuckle the child in my arm and put the medicine down their throat because I said swallow, because I knew it was good for them. Sometimes we need that in our lives. Sometimes we need someone to just say, do this, right? And so that's a really aggressive version of it, but sometimes we also come up with a lot of resistance, and we will bring anything to the table that is possibly a hint of an excuse for us to not show up. And you know what? The hard thing is sometimes really hard things happen in our lives, and they do, and they suck. It knocks you to your knees. It can throw you flat on your back, and you're lying awake at night, not knowing how to make sense of your thoughts because it's just awful. But we all heard that we can choose to stay there, or we can actually choose to build from that. And if you're going to be building from that, you're going to have so much more to bring forward, so much more, right? You're bringing so much value. You're bringing all this empathy because you know what it felt like to be there, and you know what you're offering. Like, think about the fact that if Jennifer Leith hadn't offered that to Alita, where would she be today without Plexus? Where would I be today without Plexus? I never go there because I know it's not pretty. It's not pretty at all, because I know where we were headed before this. And I also know that nausea and that awful feeling of, oh, I messed up so bad. What am I going to do now, right? And then deciding to put those big shoes back on and saying, okay, I'm just going to go back and try again, because you know what? I'm doing this, and I'm choosing this. We get to choose. And I think that's the biggest thing that we can take home today is, at the end of the day, we always have a choice. We always have a choice of how to make footsteps from where you are today. Where are you pointing those feet? Where is the direction that your mindset is taking you? Are you allowing those thoughts to grow there? What are you entertaining in your thought process, right? And there's so many things that we can be buried in so deep that it takes a lot of digging to get out of first. And sometimes you've been doing these things for such a long time, it takes someone else to help you to get out of that. Don't be ashamed if you say you need some help. Don't be ashamed to say, I'm getting a counselor. Like, I need this. You do. We all need some reparenting at some point in our life. My kids will. They had me as a mom. You know what? It's not funny, but it is. It truly is. If you know my kids, then it is. They would agree. You have to decide to take that piece, and then you have to decide, what am I going to do with it? And so I love this analogy of Plexus being a huge table, and every one of you, and I tell my teams this because they know this, every one of you comes with a chair, so there's a place for you at this table. But what else you come with is you're already preloaded with the purpose, the plan, the tools, and everything that you're ever going to need to succeed at that table. Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. The other thing is there's not one person like you. You bring specifically your own unique and special gifts and talents. There is no one there like you. And so they're going to be needing you at that table. They're going to be needing what you're bringing. So what are you allowing to be holding you back? Are you allowing to, I'm not as good as her, I can't talk like her? Are you believing those lies that Sarah and Rosanna were talking about? Guys, I've watched these girls grow. That is phenomenal. It's incredible. And we celebrate each other's growth so much, so much. It's such a privilege to be a part of, right? And so you get to come to this table, you're bringing your chair, you're preloaded, you're totally ready. All you got to do is sit down and decide. That's what we're doing. And so whether we're building new blazing trails through the forest of Canada, been there, done that, right? There's more to be built. There is so many people that are waiting for you to show up in your purpose, in your plan, and who you are authentically. And even if you think that is so hard, and what are they going to think about me? And oh my goodness, I'm going to have to be so raw and honest with what's actually going on in here. That's okay. That's going to be your biggest freedom, and it's going to be your best tool in order to reach other people that they too, all of a sudden you might be coming across those Elitas out there, right? And you're going to be the one that is going to hand them that small gift and bug them for 18 months and tell them, why won't you join my team? Like, just do it already, right? Because you have a purpose and a passion. And sometimes it doesn't look that way. Sometimes you're adding someone and you are the one that doesn't have belief in them. Sometimes you're going to have to check yourself before you wreck yourself, because you might be the one that is going to have to come to show up and say, I didn't give you what I needed, what you needed to grow, right? I didn't give you because I was holding out on myself. I didn't believe I had what I needed to bring you in order so that you could grow. Can we start over? I've had to do that. And it's okay. It's okay. Like, it doesn't matter of what you have learned along the way. It matters what you're doing with it. And so I'm going to get off my soapbox. I want Eva to wrap up that a little bit too, because I'm like that too. I could go on forever. I'm just so grateful to have had this tonight. And you guys were amazing. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, you are so awesome. I love when you go on your soapbox, Marge. I do not have a soapbox right now. I'm just going to say thank you, everybody, so much for sharing. And I'm going to do the awkward. See you later. Bye.
Thank
Alita.
you all.
Help me, Alita. Peace out. That was so awesome.